Introduction to the Unified Kill Chain. Cybersecurity has evolved into a complex battlefield where defenders continuously adapt to increasingly sophisticated and persistent threats. Traditional models like the Lockheed Martin Cyber Kill Chain and MITRE ATT and CK framework have offered invaluable insights into attacker behavior, helping organizations structure their defense strategies. However, as cyber operations become multi-phased and as attackers blend tactics from both offensive and espionage domains, the need for a more comprehensive, lifecycle-focused model became apparent. The Unified Kill Chain (UKC) addresses this need. The Unified Kill Chain was introduced by Paul Pauls in 2017 to synthesize and expand upon existing models, offering a holistic, end-to-end view of adversary behavior. While traditional kill chains focus primarily on intrusion or post-compromise activities, the Unified Kill Chain integrates the full spectrum of cyber attack tactics. Spanning from reconnaissance through impact, across both the pre-compromise and post-compromise phases. It merges the strengths of the Lockheed Martin Cyber Kill Chain and the MITRE ATT and CK framework into a unified sequence of 18 phases. This introduction explores the origins, structure, strategic relevance, and practical application of the Unified Kill Chain, offering cybersecurity professionals a powerful lens through which to anticipate, detect, and respond to modern cyber threats. Background: the evolution of cyber kill chains. The concept of a kill chain originated in military doctrine, denoting the structure of an attack sequence: find, fix, track, target, engage, and assess. This concept was adapted into cybersecurity by Lockheed Martin in 2011 through the Cyber Kill Chain (CKC) model. The CKC breaks a cyber attack into 7 linear stages: reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control (C2), and actions on objectives. This model provides a structured way to understand how attackers operate and where defenders can interject. However, the Cyber Kill Chain has notable limitations. It focuses predominantly on external intrusions and is more relevant to targeted malware-based attacks, less so for lateral movement or insider threats. It also emphasizes a perimeter defense mindset, which is increasingly insufficient in today's landscape of assumed breach and zero trust. To address these gaps, the MITRE ATT and CK framework emerged, providing a matrix of attacker tactics and techniques observed in real-world scenarios. ATT and CK dives deeper into post-exploitation behavior, making it ideal for detection engineering, threat hunting, and red team activities. However, ATT and CK lacks a defined sequence, which can make it harder to understand the full narrative of an attack lifecycle. Paul Pauls' Unified Kill Chain combines the linear clarity of the CKC with the richness and depth of ATT and CK into a sequential, comprehensive model. Structure of the Unified Kill Chain. The Unified Kill Chain is organized into 3 primary phases. 1. Initial foothold, pre-compromise. 1. Reconnaissance. 2. Resource development. 3. Initial access. 2. Execution of attack, post-compromise. 4. Execution. 5. Persistence. 6. Privilege escalation. 7. Defense evasion. 8. Credential access. 9. Discovery. 10. Lateral movement. 11. Collection. 12. Command and control, C2. 3. Objectives and impact. 13. Exfiltration. 14. Impact. 15. Influence operations. 16. Denial of service. 17. Financial theft. 18. Strategic goals realization. Each phase encapsulates attacker goals and actions that align with real-world campaigns. These phases are neither strictly linear nor mutually exclusive. Attackers may loop back, skip, or parallelize phases depending on their objectives and defenses encountered. Why the Unified Kill Chain matters. The UKC offers several advantages over prior models. 1. Comprehensive coverage. By including phases such as resource development, influence operations, and strategic goals, UKC extends beyond intrusion to address the full lifecycle of cyber conflict, including social, political, and economic objectives. 2. Integration with MITRE ATT and CK. The UKC phases map closely to ATT and CK tactics, making it compatible with detection, threat intelligence, and red teaming activities. 3. Enhanced detection and response. Security teams can better prioritize and correlate alerts when understanding where they fall within the kill chain. This supports threat hunting, incident response, and threat modeling. 4. Strategic insight. Organizations and nation-states alike can use UKC to understand how cyber threats align with strategic goals, e.g., espionage, sabotage, or financial gain, informing defense priorities and risk assessments. 5. Training and simulation. Red and blue teams can use the UKC to simulate real-world attack chains, test defenses, and improve resilience across all stages of an attack. Comparison with other models. Practical applications. Organizations can use the unified kill chain in several ways. Threat intelligence, mapping observed indicators and TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures to UKC phases can help analysts understand adversary intent and stage of attack. Security controls mapping. By overlaying defenses across the UKC, gaps in visibility or response can be identified. Incident response planning. Understanding the phases of attack helps IR teams develop playbooks aligned to attack progression. Security architecture design. UKC supports defense in depth by guiding placement of detection and prevention mechanisms across all stages. Executive reporting. The sequential nature of the UKC helps explain cyber threats to non-technical stakeholders, bridging the gap between security operations and business leadership. Challenges and criticisms. While powerful, the unified kill chain is not without critiques. Complexity. The 18-phase structure may be overwhelming for smaller organizations or teams lacking mature cybersecurity programs. Dynamic threats. Attackers are increasingly agile, employing AI, polymorphic malware, and living off-the-land techniques that challenge rigid frameworks. Need for integration. Effective use of the UKC depends on integration with SIEMs, EDRs, and threat intel feeds, requiring investment and skilled analysts. Despite these, the model's strengths outweigh its drawbacks for most organizations with serious cyber risk concerns. The unified kill chain marks a significant step forward in understanding and combating advanced cyber threats. It acknowledges that modern cyber operations are not isolated incidents but orchestrated campaigns aligned with strategic goals. By offering a complete view from reconnaissance to impact, and by integrating tactical and strategic dimensions of adversary behavior, the UKC empowers organizations to anticipate, detect, and disrupt attacks more effectively. In an era defined by digital transformation, cloud migration, and hybrid warfare, cybersecurity defenders need tools that reflect the full complexity of the threat landscape. The unified kill chain is one such tool, comprehensive, adaptable, and strategically informed. The unified kill chain, rethinking the story of cyber attacks. In the 21st century, wars are no longer fought only with tanks, bombs, or aircraft. A new battlefield has emerged, one that's invisible, borderless, and always active. This battlefield is the digital domain. Here, nations, corporations, criminal syndicates, and lone actors all wield a new kind of weapon, code. And to understand how these cyber weapons are built, deployed, and used, we need to understand not just tactics, but the entire story arc of a cyber attack. Enter the unified kill chain, UKC, not just another cybersecurity model, but a new way to narrate and dissect the full life cycle of a digital attack. Developed to bridge the limitations of earlier frameworks, the UKC provides a storyline, a strategic narrative, for how cyber attacks evolve from the first Google search to the final data leak, the ransom demand, or the silent surveillance that goes undetected for years. This introduction is not just a technical overview, it's an invitation to think like both a cyber attacker and a defender. To understand the unified kill chain is to map the mind of an adversary, methodical, patient, creative, and relentless. Why we needed a new kill chain. Back when firewalls were enough and breaches were rare, the Lockheed Martin cyber kill chain was revolutionary. It gave defenders a language to talk about attacks in 7 neat phases, from reconnaissance to actions on objectives. But attackers evolved. They started skipping steps, living off the land, reusing trusted tools, and hiding in plain sight. Security teams needed more depth, more flexibility. That's when the MITRE ATT and CK framework stepped in, cataloging hundreds of techniques across the intrusion spectrum. It was powerful, but fragmented. Without a beginning, middle, or end, it offered ingredients without a recipe. The Unified Kill Chain, introduced by Paul Pauls in 2017, solved this dilemma. It didn't replace the CKC or ATT and CK, it absorbed them. It created an 18-phase model that acknowledges the messy, multi-phase, and often recursive nature of modern cyber attacks. From phishing emails to ransomware detonations, from cloud misconfigurations to deepfake influence campaigns, the UKC offers a single coherent map. The 3 acts of a cyber attack. Think of the Unified Kill Chain as a 3-act play. Act 1, the setup, initial foothold. The attacker is still outside the gates, but they're planning, probing, and preparing. 1. Reconnaissance, researching the target, employees, technologies, partners. 2. Resource development, building tools, buying exploits, compromising infrastructure. 3. Initial access, gaining the first foothold, often through phishing or exploiting vulnerabilities. This act is quiet. No alarms ring. It's about preparation, stealth, and setup. Act 2, the intrusion, execution of attack. Now the attacker is inside, navigating the environment, laying the groundwork for impact. 4. Execution. 5. Persistence. 6. Privilege escalation. 7. Defense evasion. 8. Credential access. 9. Discovery. 10. Lateral movement. 11. Collection. 12. Command and control, C2. These are the mechanics of compromise. Tools are executed. Logs are cleared. Admin accounts are hijacked. Files are gathered and exfiltration routes are opened. The attacker now owns your network more than you do. Act 3, the payoff, objectives and impact. This is the climax, what the attacker really came for. 13. Exfiltration, sensitive data is extracted. 14. Impact, systems are disrupted, files encrypted, reputations destroyed. 15. Influence operations, public perception is manipulated. 16. Denial of service, critical services are taken offline. 17. Financial theft, fraud, ransomware, crypto theft, and more. 18. Strategic goal realization, political, military, or economic objectives are achieved. Each act builds on the last. But attacks aren't always linear. The Unified Kill Chain accommodates looping phases, adaptive strategies, and adversaries who learn in real time. The art of defense, why the UKC matters. Imagine trying to guard a castle without knowing how your enemy thinks, where they'll attack, or what they're after. That's the situation many organizations face. The UKC gives defenders not just a set of tools, but a predictive model. It helps answer critical questions. Where are we vulnerable? What indicators should we watch for, early and late? How do we stop attackers before they achieve their real goals? By aligning defenses to the kill chain phases, teams can strategically place sensors, implement controls, and prioritize responses. Example: if your detection capability is strong in Phase 4, execution, but weak in Phase 1, reconnaissance, you might catch an attacker after they've entered, but miss the early warning signs. The UKC helps visualize these blind spots. Not just technical, also strategic. The Unified Kill Chain is about more than IP addresses and payloads. It's a framework that speaks to intent. It reminds us that attackers are not just hackers in basements, they're state-sponsored groups, corporate espionage actors, ideologically driven collectives. Each phase of the UKC maps to strategic goals. Intellectual property theft maps to exfiltration and strategic realization. Election interference maps to influence operations. Critical infrastructure attacks map to impact and denial of service. This makes the UKC useful not just for security engineers, but for CISOs, executives, policymakers, and national security analysts. From blue teams to boards, who uses the unified kill chain? SOC analysts use it to categorize alerts and trace threats. Red teams use it to model attacks and challenge defenses. Threat hunters use it to uncover dormant phases like persistence or discovery. Executives use it to understand risk and investment priorities. Educators use it to train the next generation of defenders. Unified kill chain versus other models. Looking forward. The future of cyber warfare is more unpredictable than ever. AI-generated phishing. Supply chain compromises. Deepfake-driven propaganda. Everything is in flux, except one thing: adversaries follow patterns. The unified kill chain is the blueprint of those patterns. It gives defenders the edge not just in reaction, but in prediction. It empowers organizations to move from chaos to choreography. To see the whole board, not just the next move. In a world where the cost of failure is measured in billions, reputations, and even national security, the UKC is more than a model. It's a mission-critical map for understanding how cyber conflict unfolds, and how to win. The initial foothold phase is a critical stage in both cyber attack and threat modeling frameworks. It refers to the attacker's first successful compromise of a target system, allowing them to establish a presence within the environment. This phase is often the entry point for more advanced exploitation and lateral movement. 1. Definition of initial foothold phase. The initial foothold, also known as initial access or initial compromise, is the stage where an attacker gains unauthorized access to a system or network. This is achieved through various means, including phishing, malware, exploiting vulnerabilities, or leveraging misconfigured systems. 2. Common techniques used. Attackers use several tactics to establish an initial presence. Phishing emails, delivering malicious attachments or links to users. Drive-by downloads, compromising legitimate websites to deliver malware. Remote exploits, exploiting public-facing applications or services. Malicious USB devices. Physical access vectors that install malware. Third-party compromise, using trusted vendors with weak security. 3. Tools and malware often used. Remote access Trojans, rats like NanoCore, New Jersey Rat, or Quasar. Exploit kits, such as RIG or Fallout, which deliver payloads through browsers. Keyloggers, capturing user credentials post-compromise. Web shells, planted on vulnerable servers for remote access. 4. Objectives of this phase. Persistence, install software or backdoors to maintain access. Credential harvesting, obtain user credentials for privilege escalation. Establish C2, command and control connect to external servers for control. Minimal detection, avoid alerting security teams or triggering defenses. 5. Indicators of initial foothold. Security teams can look for these signs. Unusual login attempts or behavior. Outbound traffic to unfamiliar domains or IPs. Executables in temporary or user-specific folders. New or modified scheduled tasks or services. Alerts from endpoint detection systems, EDR/AV. 6. Defensive strategies. Email filtering and security awareness, to reduce phishing success. Patch management, eliminate exploitable vulnerabilities. Network segmentation, limit attacker movement post-access. Endpoint protection, monitor and block malicious activity. Zero Trust architecture, verify every access attempt internally. The initial foothold phase, also known as initial access, is a critical juncture in the cyber attack lifecycle. It marks the adversary's first successful penetration into a target environment, setting the stage for subsequent malicious activities such as privilege escalation, lateral movement, and data exfiltration. Understanding this phase is paramount for developing effective threat models and implementing robust security measures. 1. Defining the initial foothold phase. In the context of cyber threats, the initial foothold phase involves the adversary's efforts to gain unauthorized access to a system or network. This access can be achieved through various techniques, including exploiting software vulnerabilities, phishing attacks, or leveraging compromised credentials. Once inside, attackers aim to establish a persistent presence, often by installing malware or creating backdoors, to facilitate further exploitation. 2. Techniques employed by adversaries. Attackers utilize a range of methods to secure an initial foothold. Phishing and spear phishing, crafting deceptive emails to trick users into revealing credentials or downloading malicious attachments. Exploitation of public-facing applications, identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities in web applications or services accessible from the Internet. Use of valid accounts, leveraging stolen or weak credentials to authenticate into systems. Drive-by compromise. Compromising legitimate websites to deliver malware to unsuspecting visitors. Supply chain compromise, infiltrating systems through trusted third-party software or service providers. These techniques are cataloged in the MITRE ATT and CK framework under the initial access tactic, providing a comprehensive reference for defenders. 3. Indicators of initial foothold. Early detection of an initial compromise is crucial. Security teams should monitor for unusual login patterns, logins at odd hours or from unfamiliar locations. Unexpected network traffic, outbound connections to known malicious IP addresses or domains. Anomalous user behavior, users accessing systems or data they typically do not interact with. Presence of unknown processes, new or unrecognized applications running on endpoints. Implementing robust monitoring and anomaly detection systems can aid in identifying these signs promptly. 4. Defensive strategies. To mitigate the risk of initial compromise. User education. Regular training to recognize and report phishing attempts. Patch management, timely application of security updates to software and systems. Multi-factor authentication, MFA adding layers of verification to user authentication processes. Network segmentation, dividing the network to contain breaches and limit lateral movement. Endpoint protection, deploying advanced antivirus and anti-malware solutions. Adopting a defense-in-depth approach ensures multiple layers of security to thwart initial access attempts. 5. Threat modeling considerations. Incorporating the initial foothold phase into threat models involves asset identification, determining which systems are most likely to be targeted. Attack surface analysis, assessing all potential entry points, including third-party integrations. Adversary profiling, understanding the capabilities and tactics of potential attackers. Scenario development, simulating attack vectors to evaluate existing defenses. Frameworks like Stride and POSTA can guide organizations in systematically analyzing threats and implementing appropriate controls. 6. Real-world example. A notable instance of initial foothold exploitation is the 2013 Target data breach. Attackers gained access through a third-party HVAC vendor, highlighting the importance of securing the supply chain. Once inside, they installed malware on point-of-sale systems, leading to the theft of millions of customer records. The initial foothold, also called initial access, phase is not merely the point of system penetration, it is a transitional state that reflects the intersection between external threat vectors and internal vulnerabilities. In theoretical terms, it represents a threshold event, the moment where a system transitions from a secure to a potentially compromised state. 1. Systems theory and entry points. From a systems theory perspective, an organization's digital environment can be modeled as a dynamic system with multiple inputs, processes, and outputs. Each input channel, e.g., email, web apps, supply chain interfaces, is a potential ingress point for adversaries. The initial foothold phase exploits these channels to inject entropy, introducing instability into the system. Open systems, organizations operate in open, interconnected environments, increasing exposure. Boundary permeability. The more permeable the system boundary, e.g., through API access, remote services, the higher the risk of unauthorized access. 2. Game theory and attacker strategy. Using game theory, the initial foothold phase can be analyzed as the first move in a multi-stage, strategic interaction between attacker and defender. Information asymmetry. Attackers often have limited knowledge of internal systems, while defenders lack complete visibility of attacker behavior. Payoff matrix. Gaining initial access gives attackers a high utility payoff due to potential access to lateral movement, privilege escalation, and persistence. Thus, this phase is about maximizing attacker advantage while minimizing risk of detection. 3. Cyber kill chain and unified kill chain. In Lockheed Martin's cyber kill chain, the initial foothold aligns with stages like delivery, exploitation, and installation. However, in the unified kill chain, Hutchins, Cloppard, Amin, 2011, it maps more broadly across initial foothold, privilege escalation, and internal reconnaissance, a grouping that reflects a more continuous, adaptable process. This change in modeling acknowledges overlapping phases. Attackers may install, escalate, and begin reconnaissance almost simultaneously. Persistence through redundancy. Multiple footholds may be established in parallel. 4. Security ontologies and foothold semantics. In security ontology models, the initial foothold is a class of action characterized by actor, the adversary entity performing the intrusion; object, the vulnerable system, application, or endpoint; mechanism, the method or exploit used; outcome, a state change from secure to compromised. Semantic modeling allows organizations to formalize the relationships and anticipate likely attacker behaviors. 5. Behavioral psychology and social engineering. Much of the initial foothold success relies on human factors. Cognitive biases. Attackers exploit tendencies like urgency bias, phishing emails, authority bias, or trust in known vendors. Routine disruption. Adversaries introduce plausible but disruptive stimuli to bypass critical thinking. This underlines the need for cybersecurity awareness rooted in behavioral education, not just technical policy. Defensive theories, control and detection. From a defensive standpoint, several theoretical models guide mitigation of initial access. 1. Zero trust architecture. Assumption: no device, user, or system is inherently trusted. Response: authenticate and authorize every interaction regardless of origin. This flips the traditional perimeter model and assumes attackers will eventually breach outer defenses. 2. Defense in depth. A classical security model where layers of controls, technical, physical, administrative, act as redundancy mechanisms. Deterrence layer, policies and awareness. Detection layer, IDS/IPS, CM. Delay layer, network segmentation, endpoint controls. Response layer, incident response playbooks. Network propagation phase, an in-depth analysis. Network propagation, also referred to as lateral movement or internal spread, is a pivotal phase in the cyber attack chain following the attacker's initial foothold. During this stage, the adversary moves across systems within a compromised environment to expand access, locate valuable targets, and position themselves for maximum impact. 1. Definition and purpose. In the unified kill chain, network propagation is part of the post-access phase, encompassing the adversary's internal exploration and spread. Its core goals are lateral access, accessing other hosts and services across the network. Privilege escalation support, finding higher privileged accounts or systems. Persistence and redundancy, gaining access to multiple systems to maintain control. Reconnaissance, mapping the network, identifying defenses and asset locations. 2. Theoretical framing. A. Graph theory in network spread. Corporate networks can be modeled as graphs, where nodes equals endpoints, workstations, servers, assets. Edges equals communication paths or trust relationships. Attackers aim to traverse this graph stealthily, using the shortest or least defended paths to reach high-value targets, e.g., domain controllers, databases. Graph theory concepts applied. Breadth-first search, BFS map the network widely. Depth-first search, DFS dive deep into specific branches. Shortest path algorithms, find optimal routes to sensitive nodes. Betweenness centrality, identify key systems for further propagation. B. Epidemiology models. Network propagation shares similarities with disease spread models in epidemiology. Infection, compromise, rate. Contact points, connectivity. Susceptibility, vulnerable hosts. This analogy informs containment strategies, such as isolating infected segments, immunizing critical nodes, patching, MFA, monitoring superspreaders, admin systems. 3. Techniques used by attackers. Attackers use several methods for lateral propagation. Credential dumping and pass-the-hash/ticket, extracting and reusing credentials or authentication tokens. Windows admin shares, SMB, WMI remotely executing commands or malware. Remote desktop protocol, RDP using stolen credentials for GUI-based access. Exploitation of internal services, like EternalBlue, SMBv1, or Print Nightmare. Living off the land, LODL using native tools like PowerShell, PSExec, and WMI to avoid detection. 4. Key examples in real-world breaches. WannaCry, 2017 used EternalBlue to spread across unpatched Windows machines. NotPetya, 2017 leveraged PSExec and WMIC after initial access to propagate malware. SolarWinds attack, 2020 attackers laterally moved across environments using SAML token forgery and legitimate admin tools. 5. Indicators of network propagation. Security teams should monitor for unusual use of administrative tools, PSExec, WMI, RDP. Abnormal authentication patterns, e.g. from non-typical user devices. Sudden access to high-privileged systems by standard users. DNS lookups or SMB requests to multiple internal hosts. 6. Defense and mitigation strategies. A. Prevention and containment. Network segmentation, restrict internal traffic between segments. Least privilege access, users and services should only access what they need. Credential hygiene, limit use of cached credentials and disable legacy protocols like SMBv1. Patching, regularly update systems to remove exploit vectors. B. Detection and response. User behavior analytics, UBA detect abnormal lateral movements. Endpoint detection and response, EDR flag suspicious command line behavior or process spawning. Honeypots, decoy systems that alert defenders when touched. 7. Threat modeling considerations. When modeling network propagation. Trust boundary mapping, identify where authentication or permissions shift. Attack surface enumeration, list systems and services vulnerable to movement. Adversary emulation, use tools like MITRE Caldera or Red Team exercises to simulate lateral movement. Kill chain integration, understand how this phase bridges access and target compromise. The network propagation phase is where attacks escalate in scope and danger. Understanding it through the lens of graph theory, epidemiology, and threat modeling allows defenders to anticipate movement patterns and proactively harden internal networks. By recognizing behavioral indicators and applying layered defenses, organizations can significantly limit an adversary's ability to maneuver internally. Absolutely. Here's an even more detailed and differentiated theoretical breakdown of the network propagation phase, diving deeper into its architecture, behavioral logic, and modeling from multiple academic and operational perspectives. Network propagation phase, a deep theoretical decomposition. Network propagation is a recursive and strategic phase of post-compromise operations, wherein the adversary transitions from isolated access to multi-host dominance. Unlike initial access, which is discrete and externally focused, propagation is internal, iterative, and adaptive, governed by topology, privilege models, and temporal constraints. 1. Functional characterization. At its core, network propagation involves three interlinked functions. A. Enumeration. The attacker systematically maps the internal environment using host discovery, ping, ARP, stat, net view. Service enumeration, scanning open ports/services via map, netstat. User/group enumeration, using LDAP queries or net user, squery. B. Pivoting. A pivot is a compromised machine used as a launchpad for reaching inaccessible internal zones. Port forwarding, SSH tunneling, meterpreter pivoting. SOX proxying, enables attackers to browse internal apps via external tools. C. Lateral movement. The transfer of execution from one node to another using remote code execution, via WMI, PowerShell remoting. Credential reuse, pass the hash/ticket, Kerberos abuse. Local exploits, elevation via known CVEs. 2. Theoretical frameworks. A. Network science and topological models. Using complex network theory, one can view the enterprise as a directed weighted graph. Nodes equals devices/hosts/users. Edges equals trust relationships or network connections. Edge weights equals privilege level, authentication strength, ACLs. 2 key properties guide propagation. Clustering coefficient, local connectivity density, easier local moves. Shortest path length, routes from low-value to high-value nodes. Attackers prefer low-cost, high-yield edges, e.g., default creds on high-access systems. B. Probabilistic threat trees. In threat modeling, attack trees can model each potential path as a branch. Root node, initial compromised host. Branches, techniques, credential dumping, SMB moves, exploits. Leaves. Final objectives, domain admin, file servers, backups. Each branch is assigned a likelihood score based on system posture, making it possible to simulate likely attack paths, e.g., Bayesian threat modeling. See adversarial decision theory. Attackers operate under bounded rationality and resource constraints. Time to objective is minimized. Detection risk is minimized. Noise generation is avoided, e.g., favoring stealthy tools over noisy scanners. Thus, they tend to use legitimate protocols and tools, e.g., PowerShell, and blend into normal user behavior. 3. Typology of propagation techniques. 4. Strategic goals of propagation. Propagation is not just about reach, it's about expansion with purpose. Privilege maximization, reaching domain controllers or backup systems. Redundancy creation, ensuring multiple access vectors. Data collection, locating sensitive files or credentials. Command and control resilience, deploying multiple C2 implants for fallback. 5. Propagation patterns. Attackers may adopt different propagation styles based on their goals and stealth requirements. 6. Indicators and defenses. Indicators of lateral movement. Interhost SMB traffic from workstations. Admin tool execution from non-admin devices. Credential anomalies, e.g., same account logging into 30 machines. Internetwork port scanning. Mitigation strategies. Network segmentation and microsegmentation. Disabling unused admin tools. SAS protection and credential guard. Honey tokens and canary accounts. Behavioral analytics plus EDR correlation. 7. Integration in threat models. Network propagation must be integrated as a dynamic threat scenario in threat models like PASTA, process for attack simulation and threat analysis models attack paths based on system architecture and attacker intent. MITRE ATT and CK, breaks down tactics like lateral movement into 20+ techniques, e.g., T1021.002, SMB/Windows admin shares. Stride. Propagation relates to elevation of privilege and information disclosure. These models help simulate attack graph traversal and estimate impact. The network propagation phase is not a single event but a multidimensional, adaptive campaign within the internal network. Understanding it requires merging technical skill, mathematical modeling, and behavioral prediction. It serves as the attacker's bridge from breach to business impact, making it one of the most strategically significant phases in any intrusion. Theoretical framework of the action on objectives phase. 1. Position in the cyber attack lifecycle. The action on objectives phase is the teleological endpoint in cyber threat modeling. It reflects the purpose-driven nature of adversarial activity, when all previous efforts, reconnaissance, access, propagation, converge to fulfill the attack's strategic or operational intent. This aligns with teleology in philosophical terms. Every action in the kill chain leads toward this phase as its goal state. Goal-oriented modeling, GOM objectives define not only the path but the selection of tools, timing, and tactics. 2. Ontological nature of objectives. Objectives can be viewed ontologically as existing in 3 layers. Logical objectives, gaining read/write access, executing arbitrary code. Functional objectives, stealing, destroying, encrypting, or modifying data. Strategic objectives, surveillance, sabotage, profit, or influence. The attacker acts within a cybernetic system, where feedback from each layer, e.g., success/failure signals, network noise, influences decision-making in real time. 3. Theoretical disciplines at play. A. Game theory. Payoff matrix. Attackers weigh cost, risk of detection, resource usage, versus reward, successful objective completion. Minimax strategy. Often seek minimum exposure for maximum gain. Sequential games. The attack lifecycle is modeled as a stepwise game where earlier moves condition the endgame. B. Information theory. Entropy. Attackers seek to reduce uncertainty about systems before action. Information leakage. Successful objectives often involve extraction of high-entropy, valuable, unique data. Covert channels. Exfiltration often uses high-noise environments to hide low-bandwidth data streams. C. Systems theory. Treats enterprise environments as complex adaptive systems. Objectives often target critical nodes or feedback loops, e.g., ERP systems, authentication services, to cause disproportionate impact. 4. Risk realization model. In classical risk theory, risk equals threat times vulnerability times impact. The action on objectives phase is when impact is not equal to 0, i.e., when the theoretical risk transforms into actualized harm. This moment marks the transition from probabilistic, e.g., attack simulation, red teaming, to deterministic consequences, e.g., data breach, service outage. 5. Adversarial rationality and bounded optimization. Using bounded rationality theory, attackers operate with limited resources, imperfect knowledge, and time constraints. Their choices in this phase are shaped by utility functions, e.g., data volume exfiltrated, financial gain. Constraints, network latency, time to live in system, active defense. Stealth requirements, minimize alerting SOC. This results in suboptimal but feasible objective execution paths, often seen in real-world attacks where attackers improvise, e.g., manually uploading files, using free file hosting. 6. Ethics and objective framing. From a theoretical lens, just war theory or cyber ethics debates whether objectives like surveillance or disruption are legitimate. Attackers may operate under their own internal rules, e.g., hacktivists targeting only specific governments or companies, which define the moral bounds of their objectives. 7. Measurement of objective impact. In cyber resilience models, impact is assessed across confidentiality loss, see data theft, espionage. Integrity degradation, tampered records, altered binaries. Availability loss, downtime, ransomware encryption. Advanced models like FAIR, factor analysis of information risk, quantify this impact in monetary terms or operational degradation metrics. 8. Closure and feedback loop. The end of this phase typically feeds into post-incident forensics. Analyzing attackers' objectives helps map entire kill chain Threat intelligence, objective patterns help cluster activity groups. Defense evolution. Understanding final stage tactics informs better early stage detection. Thus, action on objectives is not merely a conclusion but a catalyst for cyber defense adaptation and threat modeling refinement. The action on objectives phase is not just technical execution, it is theoretical realization. It embodies the adversary's intent, rationality, and resource alignment within the complex system of the enterprise. Framed through disciplines like game theory, risk analysis, and systems thinking, this phase becomes a predictable and measurable phenomenon, critical for mature cybersecurity defense architectures. 1. Cybernetics and control theory. The action on objectives phase can be seen as the control actuation moment in a cybernetic feedback loop. From this perspective, the attacker is the controller. The compromised environment is the plant/system. The action is the control signal that changes the system's state to meet attacker-defined setpoints. This implies the attacker receives continuous feedback, network telemetry, alerts, access states. Adjusts control inputs, payload delivery, timing, data routes. Executes a control action to drive the system into a new final state, exfiltrated, encrypted, or disrupted. 2. Epistemological framing, knowledge to action transition. In epistemology, knowledge transitions into action when belief, truth, and justification converge. Translating this, the attacker gathers intelligence, belief. Validates access and capability, truth. Has motive and opportunity, justification. The action on objectives is where tactical knowledge becomes operational execution. It's the epistemic closure of an adversarial campaign. 3. Actor network theory, ANT. ANT sees entities, human and non-human, as actors in a socio-technical network. In this view, attackers, payloads, protocols, and systems are equally influential actors. The final action phase is a reconfiguration of network roles and power. For example, a file server becomes an exfiltration tool. A routine user account becomes a privileged mover. The action is not just external harm, it's systemic transformation of the network's purpose. 4. Organizational behavior theory. From this angle, the attack campaign mirrors an organizational decision-making process. Planning, recon, weaponization, and staging. Execution, delivery and lateral movement. Performance evaluation, success measurement of the operation. Closure, objective actions fulfill the project. Action on objectives is the project deliverable, deliberate, measurable, and bounded by resource constraints, deadlines, and risk. 5. Psychological theory, motivation and goal theory. Adversary behavior maps to goal-setting theory. Goals are specific, challenging, and accepted, e.g., gain access to proprietary algorithm. Feedback, success/failure of prior phases, regulates goal pursuit. Persistence is influenced by progress and reward probability. Action on objectives occurs when goal conditions are satisfied, reflecting the psychological culmination of attacker intent. 6. Complexity theory and emergence. Cyber attacks are nonlinear dynamic systems. As such, small initial changes, e.g., phishing email, can result in large final effects, e.g., global outage. Action on objectives is an emergent property of attacker-system interaction. Cannot be linearly predicted from initial access alone. Thus, this phase represents emergent threat behavior. The totality is greater than the sum of tactical parts. 7. Information ecology perspective. The attacker operates within a complex information ecosystem. Systems, data, users, and processes form an interdependent web. Objectives disrupt the ecological balance, e.g., data exfiltration reduces system trust, ransomware alters business function. From this view, action on objectives is not just goal fulfillment but ecological perturbation, like introducing an invasive species. 8. Metaphysical interpretation. In metaphysical terms, the action on objectives phase is the moment of becoming, where intent crystallizes into effect. It moves from potentiality, latent risk, invisible access, to actuality, observable damage, measurable consequence. It's the ontological manifestation of digital threat, the event that gives the intrusion meaning in the real world. 9. Semiotics and communication theory. Seen as an act of communication. The payload is a signifier. The impacted system is the interpreter. The outcome is the semantic meaning, e.g., your data has been encrypted. Action on objectives is a symbolic act. The attack communicates a message, coercion, warning, demand, or simply power. A multi-theoretical synthesis. The action on objectives phase, when abstracted across disciplines, becomes a multifaceted construct. A control action in systems theory. A project milestone in organizational theory. A symbolic conclusion in semiotics. An emergent state in complexity theory. Understanding it in diverse ways helps defenders predict, interpret, and mitigate the meaningful consequences of modern cyber attacks, not just their technical footprints. The kill chain in cybersecurity refers to the structured sequence of steps that attackers follow to successfully carry out a cyber attack. It was originally adapted from military doctrine and first formalized for cyber defense by Lockheed Martin as the cyber kill chain. Here's a breakdown of key kill chain models. 1. Lockheed Martin Cyber Kill Chain, 7 steps. 1. Reconnaissance, researching targets, e.g., open ports, email addresses, technologies. 2. Weaponization, creating a malicious payload, e.g., malware, exploit. 3. Delivery, sending the payload to the target, e.g., phishing email, USB drop. 4. Exploitation, triggering the payload, e.g., exploiting a vulnerability. 5. Installation, installing malware or tools on the target system. 6. Command and control, C2, establishing communication with the compromised device. 7. Actions on objectives, exfiltrating data, disrupting systems, or other goals. Focus, external attacks. Limitation. Doesn't cover insider threats or post-compromise techniques in depth. 2. MITRE ATT and CK framework. Not a linear kill chain, but a matrix of tactics and techniques seen in real-world attacks, such as initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, exfiltration, impact, focus, post-compromise activity and detection. Limitation, lacks a defined sequence or timeline. 3. Unified Kill Chain, UKC, 18 phases. Combines and extends the above to show the entire attack lifecycle, including strategic and pre-attack steps. Pre-compromise. 1. Reconnaissance. 2. Resource development. 3. Initial access. Post-compromise execution. 4. Execution. 5. Persistence. 6. Privilege escalation. 7. Defense evasion. 8. Credential access. 9. Discovery. 10. Lateral movement. 11. Collection. 12. Command and control. Objective/impact. 13. Exfiltration. 14. Impact. 15. Influence operations. 16. Denial of service. 17. Financial theft. 18. Strategic goal realization. Focus, full-spectrum cyber attack lifecycle. Strength, strategic, tactical, and operational alignment. The Unified Kill Chain, UKC, is an advanced cybersecurity framework developed in 2017 by Paul Pauls, in collaboration with Fox IT and Leiden University. It integrates and extends the Lockheed Martin Cyber Kill Chain and the MITRE ATT and CK framework to provide a comprehensive view of cyberattack lifecycles, addressing limitations of earlier models and offering a more holistic approach to understanding and defending against sophisticated cyber threats. 1. Origins and evolution. 1.1 Lockheed Martin Cyber Kill Chain. Introduced in 2011, the Lockheed Martin Cyber Kill Chain outlines 7 linear stages of a cyber attack. 1. Reconnaissance, gathering information about the target. 2. Weaponization, creating a malicious payload. 3. Delivery, transmitting the payload to the target. 4. Exploitation, triggering the malicious code. 5. Installation, installing malware on the target system. 6. Command and control, C2 establishing communication with the compromised system. 7. Actions on objectives, achieving the attacker's goals, such as data theft or disruption. While foundational, this model primarily focuses on external threats and linear attack paths, lacking depth in post-compromise activities and insider threats. 1.2 MITRE ATT and CK Framework. The MITRE ATT and CK framework provides a matrix of tactics and techniques based on real-world observations, detailing various stages of an attack without prescribing a specific sequence. It offers granular insights into attacker behaviors but lacks a cohesive narrative structure. 1.3 Development of the Unified Kill Chain. Recognizing the need for a more comprehensive model, Paul Pauls developed the Unified Kill Chain to merge the strengths of both the Cyber Kill Chain and MITRE ATT and CK. The UKC addresses the limitations of its predecessors by providing a detailed, sequential framework that encompasses the entire attack lifecycle, from initial reconnaissance to achieving strategic objectives. 2. Structure of the Unified Kill Chain. The Unified Kill Chain comprises 18 phases, grouped into 3 overarching categories. 2.1 Initial Foothold. 1. Reconnaissance, researching and identifying potential targets. 2. Resource development, acquiring infrastructure and capabilities for the attack. 3. Initial access, gaining entry into the target environment. 2.2 Execution of attack. 4. Execution, running malicious code within the target system. 5. Persistence, maintaining access over time. 6. Privilege escalation, gaining higher-level permissions. 7. Defense evasion, avoiding detection by security measures. 8. Credential access, stealing account credentials. 9. Discovery, identifying system and network information. 10. Lateral movement, moving through the network to other systems. 11. Collection, gathering data of interest. 12. Command and control, C2 communicating with compromised systems. 17. Financial theft, stealing monetary assets. 18. Strategic goal realization, achieving long-term objectives, such as espionage or geopolitical advantage. Threat modeling is a systematic approach to identifying, analyzing, and mitigating potential security threats within systems, applications, or processes. It enables organizations to proactively address vulnerabilities by understanding potential attacker behaviors and implementing appropriate defenses. 1. Understanding threat modeling. At its core, threat modeling involves identifying assets, determining what needs protection, such as data, systems, or services. Recognizing threats, understanding potential adversaries and their methods. Analyzing vulnerabilities, assessing weaknesses that could be exploited. Implementing countermeasures, developing strategies to mitigate identified risks. This process is integral to designing secure systems and is most effective when integrated early in the development lifecycle. 2. Key steps in the threat modeling process. While methodologies may vary, a generalized threat modeling process includes 1. Define security objectives. Establish what the organization aims to protect and why. 2. Create an architecture overview. Develop a high-level diagram of the system, highlighting components and data flows. 3. Decompose the application. Break down the system to understand its components and interactions. 4. Identify threats. Use frameworks like STRIDE to pinpoint potential threats. 5. Document threats. Record identified threats, their potential impact, and effective components. 6. Determine mitigations. Propose measures to address each threat. 7. Validate and review. Ensure that mitigations are effective and update the model as necessary. This structured approach facilitates a comprehensive understanding of potential security issues. 3. Prominent threat modeling methodologies. A. STRIDE. Developed by Microsoft, STRIDE categorizes threats into 6 types. Spoofing, impersonating identities. Tampering, altering data or systems. Repudiation, denying actions without evidence. Information disclosure. Exposing sensitive information. Denial of service, disrupting service availability. Elevation of privilege, gaining unauthorized access. STRIDE aids in systematically identifying potential threats during system design. B. PASTA, Process for Attack Simulation and Threat Analysis. PASTA is a risk-centric methodology comprising 7 stages. 1. Define objectives, understand business and security goals. 2. Define technical scope, outline the system's technical aspects. 3. Application decomposition, break down the application structure. 4. Threat analysis, identify potential threats and attack vectors. 5. Vulnerability analysis, assess existing weaknesses. 6. Attack modeling, simulate potential attacks. 7. Risk analysis and management, evaluate risks and plan mitigations. PASTA emphasizes aligning security measures with business objectives. See Octave, Operationally Critical Threat, Asset, and Vulnerability Evaluation. Octave focuses on organizational risk assessment through identifying assets, recognizing critical information assets. Identifying threats and vulnerabilities, assessing potential risks to assets. Developing security strategies, formulating plans to mitigate identified risks. It's particularly suited for organizations seeking to align security practices with operational risk management. D. VAST, Visual, Agile, and Simple Threat Modeling. VAST integrates threat modeling into agile development processes, emphasizing scalability, applicable across large, complex systems. Integration, aligns with DevOps and Agile methodologies. Automation, utilizes tools for continuous threat assessment. VAST aims to make threat modeling accessible and continuous within fast-paced development environments. 4. Tools supporting threat modeling. Several tools facilitate the threat modeling process. Microsoft Threat Modeling Tool supports STRIDE methodology and integrates with Microsoft development environments. OWASP Threat Dragon, an open-source tool for creating threat model diagrams and reports. Iris Risk offers automated threat modeling with integration capabilities for various development tools. Threat Modeler provides enterprise-level threat modeling with automation and scalability features. These tools assist in visualizing threats, documenting findings, and integrating threat modeling into development workflows. 5. Best practices in threat modeling. Early integration, incorporate threat modeling at the beginning of the development lifecycle. Continuous review, regularly update threat models to reflect system changes. Cross-functional collaboration, engage stakeholders from various departments for comprehensive insights. Education and training, ensure team members understand threat modeling principles and methodologies. Leverage automation, utilize tools to streamline the threat modeling process and maintain consistency. Adhering to these practices enhances the effectiveness and efficiency of threat modeling efforts. Threat modeling is a critical component of a robust cybersecurity strategy. By systematically identifying and addressing potential threats, organizations can proactively safeguard their assets and maintain system integrity. Integrating threat modeling into the development process ensures that security considerations are an integral part of system design and implementation. Threat modeling is a structured process that enables organizations to identify, assess, and mitigate potential security threats within systems, applications, or processes. By adopting various methodologies and tools, organizations can proactively address vulnerabilities and enhance their security posture. 1. Diverse threat modeling methodologies. Beyond the commonly known STRIDE and POSTA methodologies, several other approaches offer unique perspectives on threat modeling. A. LineDone. LineDone is a privacy-focused threat modeling framework that helps identify and mitigate privacy threats in software systems. The acronym stands for Linkability, Identifiability, Non-repudiation, Detectability, Disclosure of information, Unawareness, Non-compliance. By focusing on these aspects, LineDone aids in systematically addressing privacy concerns during system design. B. TRIKE. TRIKE is a risk-based threat modeling methodology that emphasizes the analysis of system requirements to identify and manage risks. It involves creating a requirements model, threat model, and risk model, facilitating a comprehensive understanding of potential threats and their impacts. See attack trees. Attack trees provide a hierarchical, tree-like representation of potential attack paths, starting from a central goal and branching into various sub-goals and attack vectors. This method helps in visualizing and analyzing the different ways an attacker might compromise a system. D. Data flow diagrams, DFDs. DFDs are used to represent the flow of data within a system, highlighting processes, data stores, and data flows. In threat modeling, DFDs help identify trust boundaries and potential points of attack, serving as a foundation for identifying and addressing security threats. 2. Tools supporting threat modeling. Several tools facilitate the threat modeling process by providing visualization, automation, and integration capabilities. OWASP Threat Dragon, an open-source tool that offers diagramming and reporting features for threat modeling. Microsoft Threat Modeling Tool provides a user-friendly interface for creating and analyzing threat models, particularly useful for those following the STRIDE methodology. Iris Risk, a platform that automates threat modeling and integrates with various development tools to embed security into the software development lifecycle. Threat Modeler offers enterprise-level threat modeling with features like automated threat identification and risk assessment. 3. Best practices in threat modeling. Early integration. Incorporate threat modeling at the beginning of the development lifecycle to identify and address security concerns proactively. Continuous review. Regularly update threat models to reflect system changes and emerging threats. Cross-functional collaboration. Engage stakeholders from various departments to gain diverse perspectives on potential threats. Education and training. Ensure team members understand threat modeling principles and methodologies to effectively participate in the process. Leverage automation. Utilize tools to streamline the threat modeling process and maintain consistency. Threat modeling is a critical component of a robust cybersecurity strategy. By systematically identifying and addressing potential threats, organizations can proactively safeguard their assets and maintain system integrity. Integrating diverse methodologies and tools into the development process ensures that security considerations are an integral part of system design and implementation.